I've been married 17 years to my spouse, Jack. We have 4 children. We both work full-time on opposite shifts and pretty much always have, except for a couple of years when he was a stay-at-home dad and a couple of years when I was part-time. I've always been the primary breadwinner and spent most of our marriage working overtime. He works as a teacher at one of the lowest-paying districts in our area. Our issues started well before we were married, both 21. His mother and sister were adamantly against our marriage and did what they could to keep it from happening. Nothing too outlandish beyond basic lies and deceit, bullying me about my appearance, behaviors, and habits, making a point to put down anything I did, spreading rumors, etc. Typical negative female behavior. Both liked to be the center of attention and didn't like that he was giving his attention elsewhere. I personally think they have a super inappropriate attachment to him, but that's another discussion entirely. Jack never really stood up for me, but married me anyway. His mother still believes he never wanted to marry me, and I forced him. My husband still, to this day, has never corrected her. He is completely non-confrontational and shuts down. I have always had to stand up for myself and our marriage, although I let them bully and be unkind to me for years for the sake of family. My last straw with these two was about 5 years ago, when his sister made up a bunch of crazy lies about us, including my children bullying and mistreating her daughter, and I put my foot down and we went no contact with her. His mother was absolutely part of that too, as a lot of his sister's stories obviously stemmed from his mother. We still have contact with his mother, but she only speaks to me maybe 1 or 2 times a year. She texts him nearly daily and relentlessly until he says, "I love you." She has no relationship with our children beyond bringing birthday presents. She does like to get pictures off of Facebook and share them, and she makes a point to show up to games and anything where she can publicly be seen being a grandma. But there is no personal or private relationship. She has only taken them to do something 1 or 2 times. Our oldest is 15. She still works and lived a block away for 6 years. I say all that to say that there are a lot of hurt feelings on my part about how they are allowed to behave. My husband does nothing to correct them. His mother showers him with gifts, takes him drinks and treats at work, etc., which would be lovely if he wasn't her only interest. If she does come over, she basically only speaks to Jack and gets upset if I get the kids and tell them their grandma is here. I just think it's weird and kind of gross to treat your grandchildren that way. I feel like my husband has a completely separate relationship with her, and we, his family, are left out. And honestly, I feel so betrayed and hurt by it. On to our own issues. My husband carries 0 responsibility in our home. 4 kids, dogs, a home, a yard, 2 vehicles. All my responsibility. He is technically responsible for emptying the dishwasher before work and getting the oil changed in the cars, but he almost never does this without me constantly reminding him. He doesn't take the kids to do anything fun without me setting it up for him. He has only 1 or 2 times bought them a gift for their birthdays, Christmas. He does change diapers and attempts to do laundry, but never finishes, but overall has no consistent responsibility. Mostly just me asking him to do stuff, which even that rarely gets handled. He doesn't follow through with getting the older kids to do their chores, which makes me the bad guy every weekend I come home from work, and everyone has sat on devices for 10 or more hours a day and the house is trashed. We have been on maybe a handful of dates in 17 years. I have been begging for a date and more emotional attention and a relationship for at least 10. He just won't do it. There's just a complete emotional detachment on his part. It doesn't matter if I'm sad, crying, or yelling, he just ignores me. I understand that a part of that is his avoidant nature, but ignoring me for days because I am hurt is beyond ridiculous, and I don't think I can do this anymore. I usually just end up sucking it up, and we go about our separate lives as a married couple for several months, and then I fall apart again. I filled out divorce papers in April. He signed them without issue. The sad part is how we would split the kids and everything really wouldn't change my life at all. I was set to be gone camping for 4 days with my 2 oldest the day after I filled them out. I told him if he wanted to be married, he needed to come up with a plan and we would go over it when I got back. I got back the next Monday and he ignored me the rest of the day. He didn't say a word about the signed divorce papers. I told him I would file that week. I lost it the next day because he was still ignoring me. He made promises to start marriage counseling, go to the doctor for medication for anxiety and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and have a weekly marriage meeting so we could get on the same page and be more active in our relationship. 4 weeks later, and he had done none of those things. I started having massive panic attacks when I was around him. Every time he says, "I was going to, but," or something similar, I just lose it. He is off during the summer, and we attempted marriage counseling and using the Marriage 365 app. I had to set up both, schedule both, etc. He did get medicated, and I think it significantly helped him emotionally. I can see he is trying. He tried to handle lunches and dinners over the summer, even though he can't really cook. Just basic easy stuff. Pizza, burgers, chicken strips, heat-and-go type meals. I worked a second job all summer. I see him trying, but I think it's too little too late. I feel broken. I feel like I can't love him anymore. I know love is a choice, but I have been making that choice all this time and getting not much in return. Almost nothing in return. He is back to work now, and things are basically back to how they were. We have had maybe 3 marriage meetings in 4 months, and they were probably all after I brought up that we weren't doing it. It is supposed to be weekly. We attempted 2 dates. I cried the whole way to 1, because again, I think I'm broken at this point. I had to beg for 10 years and fill out divorce papers to get him to take me to dinner. He promised to lead all these things and just hasn't. He still won't follow through on any tasks or responsibilities. He won't complete anything. I have gone through most birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays being completely ignored because he didn't do anything for me. I went back to school to get my bachelor's while still working full-time, and he ignored my graduation. I spoil him and do kind things for him all the time. He always has whatever he wants for gifts. I am an over-the-top gift giver by nature. I don't expect extravagant gifts from him, just time and effort, and I have discussed that with him at length. I have so much hurt. So much hurt. I don't know how to move forward. I don't know how to let go of him, ignoring my basic needs and letting me drown for most of our marriage. I don't know how to not feel betrayed by his relationship with a woman who openly bullies and lies about me and ignores her own grandchildren. I don't know how to continue in a marriage where I have to carry all the weight, decision-making, chores, parenting, and tasks that keep our family of 7 running. I told him last week I think we need to do marriage counseling, and I expressed all these concerns with him. We got interrupted by the kids, and I said we would have to talk later. He hasn't brought it up or attempted to discuss it further. I told him yesterday I wanted us to go together to my son's football practice so we could have a marriage meeting. Again, he is supposed to lead these meetings, and I have literally set the whole thing up for him to work through. We didn't discuss a single thing. He acts like everything is fine, and we have no issues. I am just so exhausted and don't know where to go from here. There is so much hurt beyond what I have listed. 17 years of what I feel is complete emotional neglect. I want a husband. I want to be loved. Now for an update. It also came out during some of our conversation that he has had a intimacy videos addiction our entire marriage. This was something we discussed early on, and he knew my feelings. This just solidified my thoughts that I am not enough. Nothing I do is enough for this man. All my work, effort, etc. is not enough for the most basic attention. I just don't know what to do next. He didn't feel it was cheating, I do, and he knew this ahead of time. He shut off some social media but has made no attempt to heal that part of our relationship. He gets upset that I am still upset that he used images of other women for his pleasure while leaving me alone in this marriage for so long. I even found him a program to help people with intimacy videos addiction because he said he wanted to find some help. It is still sitting unopened. I'm at a loss of what to do next. Divorce is the last thing I want, but I don't know if I can continue my one-sided marriage. I started medication over a month ago for anxiety attacks. I feel like everything is so much clearer now. Why have I put up with this for so long? And why am I staying with a man who won't put any effort into us? I'm not sure if this is a side effect of medication or if I finally have my head on straight. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You're not happy. It's draining your life to be with this person. They don't seem to want to put the effort in to make it work or even to improve themselves for their own sake. Screw it. Bail. Your life will get easier. Comment 2. File those papers, mama. It's your only way out. You can't fix him. You shouldn't have to. Even in attempting to fix himself, he needs you to do it for him. You know what you want, and it's not this. End of. Now, for the update. A few days after my last post, I was cleaning the house for the family dinner. Again, I was doing it all by myself, and you guessed it, Jack was in the living room glued to his phone. I could hear him laughing at something, which was really annoying me. I asked him for help again, but he just brushed me off saying he'd get to it later. I mean, how much later does he need? The dinner was for his sister's birthday, and I really felt the pressure to impress. His mom always has something to say, and it's never anything nice. Of course, she arrived early and started rearranging the decorations. The kids were running around like crazy, and I was trying to keep them in check while preparing. It's always chaotic here, and I'm the only one working. During dinner, Jack's mom brought up the divorce papers at the table. I nearly choked on my potato. I tried to ignore the comments, focusing on the kids and the meal. After dinner, Jack's sister suggested we all play a game. The tension eased a bit, but not for long. The game got super competitive, and Jack's sister made a snide remark about my parenting. Jack laughed along with his sister, which stung. Like, really? After all we've been through, you're gonna laugh at that? While in the kitchen, I found Jack's phone on the counter. I noticed a text from an unknown number that read, "Can't wait for our next meetup, just us." I confronted Jack about the text when he came into the kitchen. He looked confused and claimed it was just a spam message, dismissing my concern. Later that night, after the kids went to bed, I confronted him again about his lack of support. Our argument escalated, and he accused me of overreacting and being paranoid. I mentioned the text I saw, and he just laughed it off, saying I was being ridiculous. I decided to take a break and went to the backyard for some fresh air. Jack followed me outside, and our argument continued, drawing attention from the kids. Jack finally admitted he hasn't been present, but he blamed work stress for his behavior. He stormed inside, leaving me alone outside. A neighbor walked past and asked if everything was okay, which added to my frustration. The next day, I saw Jack's sister post a photo of them at a bar, clearly having a good time. I confronted him about it, and he got defensive, saying he needed a night out. The argument escalated, and he threw out accusations about me being controlling. I decided to take the kids to visit my parents for the weekend to clear my head. During the visit, my parents noticed my unease and offered support, but didn't pry into my issues. I returned home with the kids and found Jack on the couch looking distant. I told Jack we needed to talk, but he brushed me off, wanting to watch TV. Things are still complicated, and I feel so lost right now. I know I need to figure things out with Jack, especially after everything that's happened. I just can't keep pretending like this is normal. The kids deserve better, and honestly, so do I. I'll make sure to post an update if anything big happens, like if I finally get some clarity on where we stand. Edit. Jack did admit that he went out with his sister and that the text was from a coworker. His denial about the details of the coworker's message raised my concern. Also, my kids have been quietly asking if we are getting a divorce. They say things feel different, and they just want to know what's going on. Am I the idiot for confronting my husband about his secret inheritance in front of both families? To add additional details to clarify some misunderstandings. My spouse and I met in university. For a couple of years, our careers took us to different parts of the country, so we were long distance. He went into a helping people profession, think nursing or social work, while I worked as a paralegal. Eventually, I decided to go back to graduate school for a more technical degree, while he moved back to the area. We decided to live together. At the time, he was working a low-paid, stressful helping people job, while I was a full-time student. Our agreement was that during the X-year program, he would cover living expenses for those X years, and after graduation, I would cover the same X years of expenses so he could switch careers from his low-paying job. During that time, I experienced a very bad episode of depression, during which he checked out and left after removing dangerous objects from the house. He had a traumatic experience with a close friend of his relating to similar topics earlier that year. I was extremely lucky that I had friends who stepped in to help. I did end up finishing graduate school, but with the clarity of a couple of years of professional help, I realized that I deserved better than to be abandoned in a time of crisis. After graduation, the original arrangement was that I would cover X years of expenses. The pandemic hit during that time frame, and he wasn't able to switch careers quickly. X years turned to 2X years, and I never got a straight answer as to when he'd get his new career off the ground. For that 2X year span, I have been covering all our expenses and stretching myself extremely thin. After some time, I gave him an ultimatum: split expenses 50-50 or we're divorcing. He has, to his credit, been doing better, but we're nowhere near cost splitting right now. He went from checked out and floating by to actively engaged, both of us enrolled in separate intensive therapy and couples therapy, and he started making more concrete business plans and following through on them. However, I'm still supporting us 100%, which means I haven't been able to save any money of my own. The inherited money was used for mutual expenses. Here's where I'm torn. I recently learned after the ultimatum that he squirreled away a substantial amount of cash from an inheritance, while I put my inheritance into a bank account for mutual household use in front of him with his knowledge and consent. I confronted him about it, and he said that he was justified because he didn't know which way the relationship was going to go. I'm really struggling with this. He said all the right words about being committed and started doing the work, but then does something that shows he's 1 foot out the door. I feel my trust is pretty broken right now. On the other hand, I think about what if the situations were reversed. We tell women in difficult relationships to always have an emergency fund saved in a separate account. Shouldn't the same rules apply here? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. On the other hand, I think about what if the situations were reversed. We tell women in difficult relationships to always have an emergency fund saved in a separate account. Shouldn't the same rules apply here? Seems like you have answered your own question. Good for the goose, good for the gander. Comment 2. Everyone should have getaway money. You said you are 50-50, so how does he benefit from your inheritance? You get to have your demands, but you want to control how your partner protects himself after you gave him an ultimatum. Now for the update. I'm back to update you guys on the financial mess with my spouse. It's been a few months since that last talk, and honestly, I've just been trying to adjust to this new normal. It's not easy, especially after finding out he had this hidden inheritance. So, to ease the tension, my spouse decided to host a family dinner, inviting both sets of our parents. I thought it was a nice gesture at first, but I was feeling pretty skeptical. The day of the dinner was just weird. He was acting super cheerful, almost like he was trying too hard. He kept reminding me to keep the conversations light and breezy, which only made me more on edge. Like, what are you hiding? So, we sit down for dinner, and naturally, his parents start asking about our future plans. He totally dodges the question and steers the convo towards family vacations. Classic move. Then my parents mention their anniversary plans, and out of nowhere, his dad suggests a joint family trip. My spouse jumps on that idea like it's the last slice of pizza, and I'm just sitting there feeling completely sidelined. I mean, what even is our future plan? After dinner, I was cleaning up and overheard him talking to his parents about the trip. He casually drops the fact that he has this hidden inheritance and refers to it as a safety net. I felt like I got slapped in the face all over again. So, when we got home, I decided to confront him about it. I was so done with this secretive crap. He brushed me off, saying it was just family talk. I wanted to scream. Then, his birthday came around, and I thought maybe we could use some positivity. I decided to throw him a surprise party. I got some close friends to help out and keep it a secret from him. Honestly, it was a struggle, but we pulled it off. On the day of the party, he seemed super distracted and distant, which had me worried. When we surprised him, he looked shocked, but not genuinely happy. His friends started talking about investments and financial plans, and I could feel the tension rising in the room. It was like a balloon just waiting to pop. Then, he got a call in the middle of the party and stepped outside to take it. My anxiety was through the roof. He came back with this forced smile, and I just knew something was off. A few days later, I found a text on his phone about an investment meeting. My heart dropped. I confronted him again, demanding to know what was up. He played it down, saying it was just a business opportunity. Really? A business opportunity with money he never told me we had? I was tired of being in the dark, so I decided to dig deeper. I found out he had been meeting with a financial advisor without telling me. When I asked him about it, he was so evasive. He just kept saying it was for our future. I wanted to scream at him. We can't even agree on what our future is, and you're running off with your secret advisor? Things escalated when he suggested we go on a trip using the hidden funds. I lost it. I just felt so powerless, and I needed to take back some control. I started secretly meeting with a financial consultant to understand my options. Let me tell you, I found out about a legal loophole regarding shared assets and inheritance that I had to look into. I felt like I was finally gaining some ground. I decided to confront him again at the next family dinner, armed with all this new knowledge. I can't even explain how tense that dinner was. I laid out all my findings in front of both families and revealed his deceit. His parents looked shocked, and I could see them starting to question their son's actions. He tried to deflect the blame, saying I was overreacting and misunderstanding everything. I calmly explained the legal implications of what he had done, and he was just left speechless. I could feel the family dynamics shifting, and honestly, it was kind of satisfying. Now he's dealing with the fallout from all this, and I can tell he's realizing that I'm not going to back down. I feel like I'm finally standing up for myself, and I don't know what the future holds, but I feel stronger. Edit. It's been a journey since the family dinner. I've had some tough conversations with my spouse, and his parents have been more involved. They were shocked at first, but have come to realize how his actions hurt our relationship. We all attended counseling sessions, which helped us communicate better. My spouse is now more transparent about finances, and we're working on a joint financial plan. I've also been focusing on my personal growth, exploring new hobbies, and reconnecting with friends. We're not perfect, but there's been significant improvement. I'm still deciding on our future, but I feel more empowered now. Am I the idiot for cutting off my cheating partner right before our baby is born? I am 32 weeks pregnant with my first child. My partner is the father. We've been together since we were 17, so for 13 years now, off and on, especially in the early years. My partner has cheated on me over the years, emotionally, messaging other girls and women, and most recently in 2019, he had an intimacy affair with another woman. We split for a few months after that and got back together right before infection 19. I thought we'd been super strong ever since. We own our house together, have great jobs, and have great family support on both sides. It's a big mortgage, but we get on fine. We started trying for a baby at the start of 2023. I had a miscarriage last year, but I found out in January 2024 that we are pregnant again. We're having a girl. I couldn't be happier for her and happier together. Today, I found a plane ticket in his bag with another woman's name on it. She is a friend he met at the gym. I know vaguely about her, but have never met her. The ticket was from back in May 2024, from big city to our city. I checked my messages with my partner and could see he was in big city that day and the night before, ostensibly for work, and was on the same flight as the woman. But I recall he told me he went to big city with his male boss, and rereading the messages, he definitely insinuated he was with his male boss over the 2 days. Long story short, I showed him the ticket and asked him about it. After several rounds of asking him to go away, think, and come back to tell me the truth, over several hours, this is what he gave me. He did go to big city for work. He did not go up there specifically with the woman. He met her for a drink at her hotel that night. They were only in the hotel bar and did not go up to her room. He called his friend to pick him up and stayed at his friend's house. He got his friend to drop him back off at the woman's hotel in the morning, and they went for a walk together. He went about his day doing business in big city. At the end of the day, he picked her up in a rental car and they went to the airport together. They were on the same flight home to our city together. Honestly, this is the simplified version. I have not included all the inconsistencies in detail between all the messages on his phone which I asked to view. I saw the messages with his male boss and with his friend from those 2 days that do not add up with his story or with his messages to me from the same 2 days. Unfortunately, I could not view any messages with the woman because they were deleted. Clearly, some existed. He says they were messaging and flirting around the time of the trip, but it died off about a month later, and that's when he deleted them. I actually think he quickly deleted them this morning when I asked to view his messages. He says he has not physically cheated on me since the time in 2019, including no touching, kissing, or intimacy with the woman. But he admitted to the flirty messages, which I say is emotional cheating, even though I haven't viewed the messages specifically. I don't think I believe that nothing physical happened either. I mean, is that not the most pathetic story you've ever heard, and you haven't even heard the inconsistencies? Now my dilemma that I need advice on. I've been treated poorly so often over the years, I don't know that it matters to me personally. I never fully trusted my partner again after 2019. I just accepted that I'll never fully trust anyone again, and moved myself past it. Quite successfully too, we were very happy until today, so I thought. Now though, I just don't know what to do for my unborn daughter's sake. She will have a lovely life and want for nothing if we stay together. Her life will still be loving if I leave my partner, but maybe a little bit harder. I care about raising her to not take the kind of treatment that I have. I'm not opposed to being a single mother, just conscious of how difficult and different our lives will be. I don't know whether to leave my partner now or not. If I do, how do I go about that at 32 weeks pregnant? If I choose to stay with him, how can I seek to move past this with him? Personal anecdotes, welcome. To add, thank you to everyone who has taken the time to comment. I am especially moved by advice that has been practical, empathetic, and often based on your personal life stories. I am in awe of the strength of some of you, very happy to hear how your lives have worked out, and feeling positive that my baby and I will have a bright future together, no matter what. I am feeling very level-headed. If I could describe my feelings, it would be bitterly disappointed, but not distraught. I am taking the time to consider my options and make plans. Thanks again for your advice, love, and support. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Your child deserves good parents in her life. Your sperm donor has never been a good person and will never be a good parent. The fact that he came out with a completely fabricated story instead of confessing and asking what you wanted to do shows he has no remorse, no real love or care for you, and that he feels no guilt over cheating and will absolutely do it again whenever he thinks he can get away with it. He's a serial cheat and as such has no intentions of stopping. Every time you forgive him, you are enabling him. Now you are letting him into your innocent child's life. Comment 2. I know it feels like it, but you don't need to make any decisions right now. You can just take time to process this. If you're able to access it, a therapist could do a lot to help. Maybe instead of leaving right this instant, you can stay and cohabit while getting ready for the baby. For this, you'll need really strong boundaries in place, including separate bedrooms if you can. I'm so sorry that you're going through this. It is not fair. Now for the update. 2 days after the confrontation, I went through my partner's things while he was at work. I found a second ticket in a pocket of his gym bag for a trip to a beach resort. The trip was dated just a week before I found the first ticket. The resort was known for its romantic getaways and couples bar activities. That evening, he came home and I casually brought up our weekend plans. He seemed distracted, scrolling through his phone, which made me suspicious. I asked about the beach resort and watched his expression change a bit. He stammered through an explanation about a group trip with friends from the gym. I pointed out that the ticket said it was just for him and the woman from the gym. His attitude changed, and he got defensive, saying I was overreacting. The argument got worse, and I demanded to see his messages with the woman. He refused, saying it was private, and I felt my frustration boil over. During the argument, he accidentally said he had fun on the trip. He tried to backtrack, saying it was just a joke, but the damage was done. I decided to gather my things and stay with my parents for a few days. When packing, I found a small gift he bought for me in the same bag. The gift is a baby onesie with a message about being the best dad. At my parents' house, my mom noticed something was off and asked what happened. I explained the situation, and my mom suggested a family dinner the next night. I agreed, thinking it could provide a distraction and some support. At the dinner, my brother shared news about his upcoming baby shower. My partner showed up unexpectedly, saying he wanted to apologize. The family was surprised to see him, and the mood became tense. He tried to lighten the atmosphere with jokes, but I felt uneasy. My dad asked pointed questions about the trip, causing my partner to sweat. He fumbled through answers, but I could see the cracks in his story. After dinner, I pulled him aside to discuss things privately. I laid out what I knew about the trips, and he got more defensive. He admitted to visiting the resort, but insisted nothing happened, saying it was a mistake. The next day, I started packing up the nursery, getting ready for the baby. Later that week, I got a call from a family member about my partner's past. They revealed he had a history of similar behavior, which confirmed my suspicions. Feeling validated, I decided to cut off communication with him completely. Mini update. I later learned from another family member that my partner's ex-wife had experienced the same issues in their relationship. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.